guys, it's Anna. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is gonna be the second part of the April wrap-up. So normally I tend to do monthly reading wrap-ups. In the month of April, after the first 2 weeks, I've read 4 books. So I decided to do a mid-April wrap-up, and if you guys haven't seen that yet, I'll link it up here for you to go and check it out. But in the month of April, overall, I read 8 books, which was over 3,500 pages altogether, which was amazing. I'm super happy about it. Probably one of my best reading months ever. This is also in regards to the star ratings, because I've picked up so many new favorites and also old favorites because I've done a lot of free reading this month. If you want to hear me talk about the first 4 books, I'll link that video up in here for you to go and check it out. And today in this video, I'm going to talk about the remaining 4 that I finished in the month of April. So the 5th book that I picked up in the month of April was Saga, Volume 7, and that's by Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. So this is a graphic novel set in space. We're following a lot of mystical creatures and people from different planets. So essentially, obviously this is volume 7, so I'm not going to tell you what happens in this volume. But the first volume follows 2 people from 2 enemy planets. So the planets are at war, and there's big hatred between the 2 planets. We follow 2 people, one from one planet, one from the other planet, and they are having a baby together. They fell in love, they're having a baby together. Obviously this is a big deal in the universe, in the space. So there's a lot of enemies that want to destroy the family and the baby, who is the proof of the treason from both sides. So we follow the parents and as well as the newborn baby as they navigating their way through the space, trying to avoid the enemies and a lot of different obstacles that are on their way. It's a very fun story, really light. Graphic novels are not normally my kind of things. I like Saga, but it's not my favorite thing. It was the same thing with the 7th volume. I thought that it was nice, it was fun, but it didn't really do that much for me. I think what I love the most about it is the humor in it, and this volume didn't have as much humor to it as I would have hoped so, as for example volume 6 did, which was probably one of my favorite volumes so far. I finished this volume. I didn't love it, but didn't hate it. I flew through it and had good time with it, but it didn't really stick out or did much to me. It didn't make me really think about anything specifically. If you're enjoying graphic novels, this is a way to go. Really fun, really funny, and light-hearted, I'd say. Mind you, this is an adult comic book, so there's a lot of explicit content in there. So if you don't like a lot of swearing or nudity, I wouldn't recommend going for this one. But yeah, so that was the 5th one, gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, from then I picked up the 3rd book in the Hunger Games trilogy, so Mockingjay. I absolutely loved it. So this was a reread for me, obviously. I remembered when I read it for the first time, and together with the movies, Mockingjay was probably my least favorite book because we don't see any Hunger Games actually happening. So the characters are not in the games. We follow their lives in the District 13, as we find out in book 2 that still exists and survived the bombing that happened 75 years ago. So this book, this time around, I absolutely loved it. Honestly, I thought, even though action-wise and plot-wise there was not as much happening and in the previous 2 books, but I thought the character development and actually the study of PTSD was done amazingly well in this book. I loved the way that Katniss and Finnick and all the other tributes are dealing with their traumas and how different they're dealing with it in such different ways that it really actually shows that each person out there is dealing with things in a different way. And that's the beauty of it. It's actually portraying real life stuff in this YA book, and I absolutely loved it. Honestly, Finnick, one of the greatest characters in there, and I still think that Katniss and Peter are meant to be. So I really love the way that the series finished and that Katniss actually ended up with Peter, just because I think what the whole trauma that they went through, going through 2 of the Hunger Games, not just one, but seeing all the deaths of their closest friends and going through it together side by side, always kind of linked together. This created a really strong bond between the 2 characters, and it just feels right that they did end up together, and I absolutely loved it. It's not that I was Team Peter or Team Gale, but I think it just makes more sense. I really enjoyed that one. I loved how horrible and really controlling District 13 was, and that actually President Coin was as bad as President Snow in a way, in completely different, 2 different ways and 2 different aspects of things. But they were both really toxic leaders, and they were no good for the people and the world. Really, really love this one. It's another 5 out of 5 for me. So then, following that trail of rereading books, I decided to pick up Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I absolutely love this reread. Harry Potter is one of my favorite series of all time, and there's just so much sentiment and so much love for these characters and this world in this for me. So every time I reread it, I absolutely love it, and it just brings me so much joy, and joy was what I needed last month. There was just so many ups and downs in my mental health. Obviously, the situation that we are in right now, it's not easy, but Harry Potter is such a good feel book that it helped me through one of the worst days, and that helped me through when I was feeling down. So now, reading Harry Potter as an adult, you obviously notice so many different things, and what I really noticed now was that the secondary characters that appear in Harry Potter books are also sometimes taking part in the adventures with Harry, Hermione and Ron, or instead of Hermione or Ron. So this is the main difference between the movies and the books, is that because the books are so much more complex, you get to meet more characters and you actually follow more characters, and secondary characters sometimes take place of the primary characters in these stories. For example, in the book we see Neville going to the Forbidden Forest instead of Ron, as it was said in the movies, because he was the one out of the bed and Ron was in the hospital wing because he was bitten by the dragon. So these little things, we get to know so many different people and so many different characters, that really pulls us into this and makes you feel like you really belong in Hogwarts and in the story, because you get to know so many different aspects and so many different things. Also, I'm really offended that Peeves doesn't appear in the movies at all. It's such a shame. He's such a great additional funny character, and I really love every scene when I see Peeves. One more thing that I wanted to say about Harry Potter is how, in my opinion, movies really destroyed Ron as a character. Ron in the books is such a smart kid. He is really thoughtful. He's such a good friend. He's also funny and smart. Whereas in the movies, he's been portrayed kind of goofy and kind of silly most of the time. As an example is the scene when the troll is trying to hurt Hermione in the girls' bathroom, and in the movies it's Hermione telling Ron to do the Wingardium Leviosa spell, whereas in the books it's Ron himself doing it without anyone else trying to help him or suggest anything. He is so underestimated and undermined in the movies. I'm really sad. I think Ron is one of the best characters in this book, and I absolutely loved it. Also the Dursleys, every scene with the Dursleys, I hated them more and more. And obviously reading this as a child or as a teenager, I hated them and I thought they were horrible. But only now as an adult, reading about this, it just makes me really sad and really angry. Dursleys should be in prison. Dursleys should be in prison for treating Harry the way they are. Honestly, all the threats, hitting Harry on the head with a frying pan, that's too much. Honestly, I understand that it was supposed to be shown that way, that there's supposed to be the difference between the loving Weasley's family and the horrible Dursley's family, but they should have ended up in prison. This is child abuse. I felt so sad for Harry that he had to live with them for full 10 years. But yeah, another reread that I really love, 5 out of 5 stars. I would never rate this book less than 5 stars. And finally, the last thing that I picked up in the month of April was The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I actually have a dedicated video review specifically for that book, because when I finished it, I had many thoughts in my head and I had to really rant about it. So if you haven't seen it, I'm gonna link it up here for you guys to go and check it out. But overall, I had a very unpopular opinion about the book. I didn't really like it. I thought it was boring, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. But if you want to hear my full on and really detailed thoughts about the book, go and check out my dedicated video. Alright guys, so these are all the books that I wanted to talk to you about today. Let me know in the comments what books you read in the month of April, and if you read any of the ones that I did. So that is it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again with another video soon. Bye!